Hello everyone, Brother Dan again. I would like to talk to you today about habits. You know those little things that we just kind of start doing without knowing it, and then all of a sudden we can't stop doing it? For example, have you ever met somebody who can't talk without moving their hands? It's really weird, isn't it? It just drives me crazy to see people do that. Have you ever met someone like that? It seems like as soon as their hands stop moving, their lips stop moving. But as soon as their hands move again, their lips start going all over again. It's a habit, and they don't always recognize it. So you get the idea. Some habits are formed by watching others. We learn them, we see them doing things, and we begin to develop those habits on our own. And before you know it, we can't stop doing them ourselves. Sometimes we develop habits when we get nervous, or lonely, or afraid. And in order to cope with those feelings or how we feel at the time, we begin to develop these little habits to help us get through. And before you know it, those habits stick with us. Habits sometimes make us who we are. They're sometimes a little funny, they're a little weird, sometimes they're even a little gross. But habits are just habits. I have a young daughter that has always twirled her hair from the time that she was a very small baby. And she still does it even today. She tries very hard not to, because when we see her twirling her hair, we know that it's bedtime and she's never ready for bed. But she can't stop it. Whenever she gets tired, she always twirls her hair and off to bed she goes. Those are some of the good habits, some of the things that just kind of make us who we are. But I want to talk to you about a different kind of habit today. These are what we might call harmful habits. These are the recurring behaviors in our life that come about, that bring about some sort of destruction, either in our lives or in the lives of others. So I want to give you three solid things today that you can begin to evaluate. Three questions that you might ask yourself of whether you might have a harmful habit that you need to take care of. So the first question I want you to answer is that, do you have habits that hurt you? I've heard a lot of people say, I'm only hurting myself, I'm not hurting anyone else. I'm sorry, but that's just not acceptable. Jesus said that we're to love others and ourselves, not to love others and hate ourselves. God made you special and with a special purpose, and His plans for your life did not include habits that bring you destruction or addictions that hurt you or harm you. These types of addictions or habits can be related to alcohol, tobacco. It can be related to cutting. Some people are addicted to adrenaline, so they do very dangerous things and put their life in danger. So if you have one of these habits, I encourage you to answer yes to question one. The second question I want to ask you is, do you have habits that hurt others? Odds are, if you answered yes to the first question, there's a good chance that you can answer yes to the second one. The truth is that many times, even though we have habits that we think are only hurting us, many times they often hurt others too. So let me give you an example. Have you ever been the victim of gossip? It really does hurt, doesn't it? When someone says something derogatory or mean about you. We know how it feels when someone hurts us, but many times we'll turn around and do that for someone else. The habits that we have don't always just affect us because we don't live in a bubble. We don't live in a small little world. It always has an impact on those around us. So here's a good question to ask yourself. When I do this, does someone else feel the pain? So if you can answer yes to that question, then you can answer yes to question two. So the third and last question I want you to answer is, do you have habits that hold you back? Have you ever watched TV too late and not finished your homework? Or have you ever stayed up all night playing video games and been too tired to go to church the next Sunday? Sometimes the habits that we have, even though we think that they're not really that bad, sometimes they hold us back from becoming all that we should be and all that God wants us to be. We have to really be able to examine our habits, the things that we do that cause or bring us down, right, or cause us harm. So I encourage you to really look at the things that you do, sometimes even without knowing it. Those are hard questions to answer, I'll admit. Sometimes it's hard to look at our habits. So here's one last thing I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to answer these three questions honestly, right? I've already asked you that, but there's one more thing I want you to do. I want you to find someone that knows you very well. It doesn't have to be a parent, it could be your best friend or someone that maybe goes to church with you that knows you real well. And allow that person to answer these three questions for you. And sometimes that gives you the best insight of maybe some of the habits that you need to look at. And if you have a habit that's hurting you or hurting others or holding you back, I want to encourage you to get help. And a great place for you to get help is at the landing.
Come Lord, around.